At first glance, there's something really comforting about The Hunters in the Snow by Pieter Bruegel. It feels like nostalgia for a winter you might have known once. A frozen world that somehow feels warm and cozy. But the longer you stay here, the less comforting it becomes. Look closer, something here is off. You see the hunters in the foreground? Why do they look so defeated? They're supposed to be celebrating their successful hunt. I mean, the rest of the village appears to be in a festive mood, skating through the crisp winter air, beating your neighbors at ice hockey. Wait, did they play ice hockey in the Middle Ages? They look like people without a worry in the world, which is suspicious, because the artist that painted this loves to hide danger in plain sight. Which makes you wonder, what is it that they don't know yet? The mystery begins with the three hunters in the snow. The painting even names them for us. At first, nothing seems out of the ordinary, but then you notice the way they hunch forward, shoulders hanging, like the cold is pulling them into the dead, frozen soil. One of them looks back, just to check if everyone's made it home alive. The 13 hounds look like their owners. The posture, heads down, bodies slumped forward. One of them even looks at you in shame. But why? Did you notice what they're carrying? It's not a deer, not even a rabbit. It's a fox. 16 deadly hunters for one fox. And then there's another clue. Look at the snow. Those tiny tracks. Even a rabbit escaped them. So no, this isn't just a bad hunt or a bad year. This is worse. Because this is anything but a normal winter. At first, the rest of the painting feels like relief. Down on the ice, life looks more hopeful. Someone finally got their wife on the ice. At least one dog is having a blast. And some wonder, guys, trust me, wait till you sweep the ice. It almost feels like Bruegel is saying, it's a good time to be alive, especially after he painted the Alps into the flat Netherlands. But stay here for a second longer, and more deception begins to surface. A gunshot cracks somewhere behind them. No one even flinches. Is this a celebration or bitter endurance? There's a reason why all this joy is happening on ice. A place that could kill you with just one. And that isn't even the beginning of what's buried inside this painting from 1565. But how could Bruegel paint this kind of hardship when he had never lived like that? You don't learn that in a cozy art studio. Which brings us to Bruegel's biggest secret. In every peasant painting, there's a man who shouldn't be there. Dressed poorly, blending in. That was Pieter Bruegel. They called him Peasant Bruegel. He wore disguises, blended into weddings and village feasts. But he wasn't one. Pieter Bruegel the Elder was an educated city artist, moving among Europe's elites. Yet he chose the dirt over the palace, so he could see real life up close. A closer look at the village mill reveals an even darker reality. It's frozen solid, useless, unable to grind grain when they really need it. Imagine crushing wheat by hand for hours, just to bake a small bread. People burned whatever they had all winter long. But dangerous soot builds up inside the chimney when fire never goes out. That's not a cozy fireplace, it's a chimney fire. That's why you see everyone rushing to it with ladders. One bad spark, and your house is gone, in a bone-chilling winter. Did you spot the crows perched in the trees? They aren't just birds. Crows were often seen as witnesses to death. When they hang around in a painting, impending doom isn't far. So you expect the magpie to be the same, right? But it isn't. In that era, it was a quiet signal of a moral or supernatural shadow hanging over the village below. And what about that group by the fire there? At first I thought they were burning the table just to stay warm. But that's not what's happening at all. They're actually singeing a pig, so burning off the hair before roasting it. Except there is no pig. Hunger is all that's left. Another ominous symbol that leads back to the failed hunt and the lack of food is the sign above. It's already coming off halfway by the horrible winter storms. about to fall down like a guillotine of hunger. It shows Saint Hubert converting to Christianity while hunting and seeing a cross between the antlers of a deer. The text on it reads, "This is the golden deer," another reference to the hunt. Just like the empty bird trap in the center that paints a similar picture. But what are all these signs of death and decay trying to tell you? Harsh winters were nothing new for these Flemish peasants in the Low Countries. They always knew winter is coming, but they didn't know that it would stay for more than 500 years. Pieter Bruegel the Elder painted this in 1565, during the coldest time of the Little Ice Age in Europe. It lasted from around 1300 till 1850. Ships trapped in frozen rivers, summers that can freeze you to death. One bad harvest after another, and the never-ending question, what are we gonna eat? Wait, now look again. Doesn't it feel a bit different now? The hunters don't just look disappointed, they look like they already know how this is gonna end. And the ice below, you better move, because if you stop, you feel the cold, the hunger, the fear. This isn't a cozy winter globe, it's better. It's a deep bow to normal people doing something incredible. Surviving the unsurvivable, driven by a mindset that allows only one answer to the ultimate question. So what do we say to the god of death? Not today. Here's what most people miss. Hunters in the Snow isn't the whole story. It's one chapter in a 6-panel calendar of seasons. Early spring, which was never painted, the hay harvest in June, July, the harvesters in August, September, the return of the herd in October, November, and our beloved, the hunters in the snow, as winter. The cycle was meant to show the harmony and struggle between man and nature as the months passed. But the strangest thing about Bruegel's work is that he didn't paint the Almighty. If you were a painter, you were usually capturing the top dogs. You think some village yokel is worth the paint. But Bruegel, he didn't give a He chose to immortalize the nobodies, the people history forgets. And for the 1500s, that was outrageous. He was the first to take these massive, expensive oil panels to show a peasant face with missing teeth, or a group of drunk guys stumbling home from a festival. It was a game changer for everything art was supposed to be. By ditching the palace for the village, he turned the common man into a masterpiece. It's like he was forcing the elite to finally admire the people they spent their lives looking down on. People like you, like me, people like us. And that's what makes Bruegel a f***ing legend. If this adventure brought you even a tiny moment of joy, leave a like and subscribe for our next adventure. Until then, Peter, drop the beat.